Nadia Padovani has just said something out loud that the paddock has been quietly thinking for 2 years. She said Alex Marquez was losing his way at Gresini in 2024. She said he was imitating his brother. She said it like a warm retrospective, the kind of quote a team boss only releases after a rider has made it. But look at the timing. She is saying this in late April 2026, with Alex sitting 7th in the championship, 48 points behind the leader, and 1 win in 4 rounds at the only circuit on the calendar that has ever flattered him. That is not a tribute. That is a confession. And once you read it that way, the entire 2026 narrative around Alex starts to look thinner than the headlines suggest. Is Alex Marquez actually growing into a title threat? Or is the story finally catching up to the limit Padavani just admitted exists? The accepted version of the past 18 months is clean. Alex finished P2 in 2025. He took 3 wins. He became, as the paddock kept repeating, the best of the rest. So when Padavani opens up about 2024, fans are reading it as the origin story of that rise, the struggle before the breakthrough. It is comforting. It is also wrong. Go back to what Padavani actually described. She said Alex was almost losing his way because he was trying to imitate, that he wanted the things his brother had that did not suit him. Then, in her telling, Alex stopped. He told himself, in her words, that he had to do it for himself and set up the bike according to his own riding style. That is the line being read as the breakthrough. Read it again, slower. A team principal is describing the moment her rider gave up trying to become his brother and accepted a smaller version of himself. That is not a coaching unlock. That is a ceiling being negotiated. And do not forget what 2024 actually looked like under the headlines. Alex finished 8th that year, 8th place, on the same Ducati equipment as a brother who finished 3rd. Same bike, same garage, same data, same engineers. 5 championship places between them. The imitating Padavani is describing now was not a stylistic phase. It was a rider trying to copy his way out of being lapped on race pace by his own teammate, and failing publicly enough that the team is only now comfortable putting words to it. The polite version is that he found himself. The honest version is that he ran out of ways to be Mark and had to settle for something that worked. And here is where the timing of the quote matters. Padavani did not say this in 2024 when it was happening. She did not say it in 2025 when Alex was on the podium next to Mark. She is saying it now, in 2026, when the rest of the evidence is sitting right next to it on every standings page in the sport. Alex won at Jerez last weekend. Beautiful win. Dominant Sunday. Ducati's first victory of the season. And nobody seems to want to say the obvious thing about it. He won at Jerez in 2025. He won at Jerez in 2026. That is the pattern. Not 3 wins last year scattered across the calendar showing growth. One circuit, year on year, where the layout, the corner sequence, the home crowd and the bike combine to give him the exact window he needs. Outside of that window, in 2026, he has finished nowhere near the front. Marco Bezzecchi has won 3 races on an Aprilia. Jorge Martin is 2nd in the championship on the other Aprilia. Alex is 7th. That is not a title threat building momentum. That is a Sunday specialist who got his Sunday. The number that should end the conversation is 48. 48 points behind Bezzecchi after 4 rounds. That is almost 2 Grand Prix wins of deficit before May. And here is the part that makes the Padavani quote land even harder. In 2025, at this exact stage of the season, Alex was leading the championship outright. He won Jerez, took the title lead off his brother, walked away from that weekend as the man on top of MotoGP. 1 year later, with a better bike, with Mark compromised by injury, with Bagnaia having a worse season than anyone expected, he is not chasing his brother. He is 48 points behind a different rider on a different manufacturer. The bike is better. The competition is weaker. He went from leading the championship to 7th. That is the part the warm Padavani quote does not survive contact with. And remember how he got that bike. Padavani herself reacted to the GP26 announcement with a public about time too. It was framed as a reward for second place, the upgrade Alex had earned by finally beating everyone not named Mark. The whole logic of 2026 was that the missing ingredient had been the machinery. 4 rounds in, the factory bike is in his garage, and the next step is not on the timing screens. The reward looks less like a launchpad and more like a level he has now reached. People thought Padavani was telling us how Alex became a threat. She was actually telling us where his ceiling lives. Alex stopped imitating Mark. Fine. The version of himself he found underneath is honest, settled, professional, and finite. That rider wins his home race, picks up consistent points when the pace is there, and finishes mid-pack when it is not. That rider was P2 in 2025 because Mark swept the season, and the next best Ducati seat was always going to belong to whoever could just be steady. That rider is P7 now, because steady is not enough when Aprilia turned up, and the championship stopped being a Ducati story. And think about what that 12-month arc actually looks like. April 2025, Alex wins Jerez, takes the championship lead, sits at the top of MotoGP. April 2026, Alex wins Jerez, sits 7th, 48 points off the front. Same circuit, same celebration. Completely different position in the sport. The Padavani quote, "Everyone is reading as a tribute," is sitting next to a trajectory that has gone backwards in the only metric that matters. Padavani once said something else worth remembering. She said Alex always lived a little in Mark's shadow, but that Alex is a real, very good pilot. Read those 2 halves of the sentence honestly, and they are not the same compliment. One is a fact. The other is the polite flaw a team boss puts under a rider she protects. Very good is not what wins championships in this era. Bezzecchi is winning races. Martin is winning races. Acosta is winning races. Alex won the one race that has always been his. Make no mistake, none of this is an attack on Alex Marquez. He is a serious professional, he stopped a bad pattern, and he has built a career most riders on the grid would take. But the story being sold around him in 2026 is not the story the standings are telling. Padavani's quote, "The one everyone is reading as a coronation," is actually the most honest thing anyone in his garage has said in 2 years. He stopped trying to be Mark. He found himself. Himself is a P7 rider with one home circuit and a very good professional reputation. That is not nothing. It is also not what people are pretending it is. So the question is not whether Alex Marquez is going to fight Mark for the 2026 title. He is not. The question is how long the paddock keeps treating his ceiling as a launchpad. What do you think? Is Alex genuinely a threat this season? Or did Padavani just tell us where the limit is? Drop your verdict in the comments, and if this one made you rethink the narrative, hit subscribe.